very normal upbringing, I think. Me and my sister. I was a bit of a tearaway as a teenager. But I think that was pretty normal back in the 90s. I had my first child at the age of 20 and my second at 24. My third child, Millie, was my little girl. It felt like I had the perfect family. Until 5 days after her first birthday, when she had a tragic accident and died. Social services then took the kids away and I was left with nobody, apart from a partner who blamed me for Millie's death. Things gradually got worse and I started self-medicating with alcohol and drugs, taking drugs to stay awake and drinking alcohol to fall asleep. My thoughts got weirder and weirder. I was making connections with numbers, names, dates, and I was reading number plates like I was getting messages from God. I was only going out at night and becoming a danger to myself, whilst all the time thinking I was being awakened to a higher self. Someone noticed the change in me and notified adult social services. I was very reluctant to see them as I didn't think there was anything wrong with me, but eventually with continual persistence they gained entry to my house. When they saw the state of it, they knew I was neglecting everyday jobs and personal care was also being neglected. This was due to the constant thinking that I was doing. I had isolated myself for nearly 2 years. I had no friends and had fallen out with my family. So when social worker Barbara Harding and psychiatrist Sue Rubin invited another doctor by the name of Dr. Pepe, which by the way played havoc with my brain as my GP's name is Dr. Salt, they invited him to assess my behaviour. He saw within minutes that I needed to go on a Section 2. I agreed to go to hospital for a month for observation. That was when I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And to see if some medication would rectify my thought patterns. After about a week the symptoms subsided and I began to feel well. I was extremely aware that the change in my thought process, and once my month in hospital was up, truly believed that things would get better. They didn't. Going back to the house and the partner who blamed me every day was too much, and I ended up back to where I started. So I did the only thing that I could, seek help that I needed. I knew now what being well felt like and decided that is now how I wanted to feel all the time. So I phoned Barbara and asked if they could take me back and put me on a Section 3. Something that no one had ever done in either Barbara or Dr. Rubin's time working in mental health. But I knew that was the only option I had. So after a short consultation, they both agreed that going back into hospital was the best thing for me. Before I was allowed to leave the hospital, Barbara was determined to sort me out somewhere to live, away from the house and the partner that I was with, as they believed that these were things that were contributing to my mental state. She found me a council flat. But also before leaving the hospital, Dr. Rubin and Barbara had arranged for me to have intensive support, which is a service in Flintshire where a support worker comes out to visit you a few days a week. It was invaluable to me as there are some things medication couldn't take care of, such as keeping to a budget, going shopping, reminding me to brush my teeth every day. Them coming to my flat stopped me from staying in bed all day and falling into a depression. Once these things became easier to me, it was time for me to start going out to interact with other people and do things again. This was when my life changed. I began to go to the shot and drop-in on a Wednesday morning and to a place called Double Click twice a week. For me, it's like a godsend. Lovely people, relaxed environment, somewhere to socialise and for me to get out of the flat. On my first day at Double Click, I learnt how to do decoupage, and as I continued to go, I learnt more, even the basics of Photoshop. I started doing business cards, for local businesses and helped to create wedding invitations. I also participated in a photography course, which was really interesting. My intensive support stopped then, as I was making great progress, but my support continued through next steps, which is what it says, the next steps to take. Then one day in November 2012, I was invited to an open mind seminar. We had a great time, and that's when Harlech College was mentioned to me. Obviously, I had my doubts, but making this massive step, not just to college, but a residential college. This meant being away from home and well out of my comfort zone. But I thought, what the heck, jump in, Shan, what have you got to lose? So I went to the interview, and 2 weeks later I received a letter saying that I'd been accepted. I couldn't believe it. I was to start the Creative Technologies course in January of 2013. I was a little bit worried, but the weeks passed so quickly that I didn't really have a chance to think about it before it was time to go. After completing a year in Harlech, finishing with an overall distinction, I returned to Double Click as a volunteer. I then applied to Glyndŵr University for a graphic design and multimedia course and was offered an unconditional position there, which I was to start in September of 2014. I continued at Double Click as a volunteer until a couple of months ago when it became a social fit enterprise, and now I'm employed there, training people on software used for graphic design, and as a trainee graphic designer, my confidence and self-belief has grown tenfold, but I couldn't have done any of this without goals. I think it's a very important part of recovery from mental health issues. What are my next goals? Well, to complete university and become a qualified graphic designer, and of course spend plenty more time with my boys.